welcome to the Mindful Living Podcast. I'm your host, Athea Davis. Are you ready to become the person everyone loves, including yourself? Imagine being filled with purpose, joy, and focused energy every single day. I guide kids to gain their inner calm and adults to spark their inner child. Each week, I will give you fun, practical, and relatable, mindfully infused inspiration, insights, and information that you can directly apply in your life, family, and school or business. So, let's get started. Hey there, and welcome to Mindful Living with me, your host, Athea Davis. You are listening to episode 109, Finding Your Internal Home, with my special guest today, Stacy Bahrenfuss. You're going to love Stacy and her business perspective as it relates to having a clear inner state. So whether you are starting a business or you're in leadership in any capacity, and basically you guys, that's all of you listening, because if you're an educator, a parent, or you have an official leadership title, you're in a partnership, you're on this earth, living and breathing, you are in a leadership position, right? Because you're leading your own life. So why I'm saying this is because her message will help you, whatever you do, right? We take a deep dive into understanding how your inner state is the key to joy and success. Whether you're trying to start a business, scale a business, you're just getting into an official leadership position, or you're really trying to, refine your own personal leadership. Her insights will be key in helping us understand how your inner state is, like I said, the key to joy and success. We talk about leading from a clear inner state and why connection is important to fulfillment. Let me give you a little tidbit here about Stacy. She is known as the Truth Teacher and a visionary intuitive. Stacy is the founder of the Truth Teachers and works privately consulting 7- and 8-figure women leaders. After a decade helping buyers find their external home in real estate, now Stacy guides women leaders to their internal home, leading them to activate all of their power, accelerating their success personally and professionally. Her certified consultants, the Truth Teachers, are on a mission to revolutionize the transformation process and smash the shackles of suffering. Illuminating the truth, addressing subconscious suffering at the root, combined with the program's exclusive approach, is the fast track to success centered on freedom and fulfillment. Stacy is also a 2020 winner of the Gold Stevie Award in Consumer Services with 10 or less employees. So like I said, I'm super excited for you to listen to my conversation with Stacy today here on episode 109 on the Mindful Living with Athea Davis podcast. Wherever you find yourself listening as you're running or walking or doing your chores or in the car, remember that you are the leader of your own life. Whether you're in a official leadership position or you're in, like I said, have a business, you're an entrepreneur, you're a parent, whatever it is, you have that power in your own life to be that leader. And I think her message, what I really want you to take away from this, is that leadership perspective from a personal standpoint. Even though I definitely think, whether professionally or personally, looking at this, you're going to gain a lot of value from our conversation as we look at why our inner state is key to, our joy and our success and whatever it is that we do. All right. Well, without further ado, enjoy my chat with Stacy Bahrenfuss here on episode 109, and I will see you on the flip side. Well, I want to welcome you, Stacy, to Mindful Living with Athea Davis. Awesome to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited for the conversation today.
Yeah, I'm excited for my audience to learn about inner life and outer life in the context of business. And you are in real estate, and I want to start. What was the impetus for you to help people discover their outer home, as you describe it, to then leading and guiding women to discover their inner home, and perhaps a mix of the two in terms of inner home and business? But I'll let you elaborate on that.
Yeah. So, I spent the last 15 years in the real estate industry, and helping buyers find their external homes, of course, was the nature of the business. But I constantly found myself helping my clients connect to their internal home and activate their power. And the way that I would do that was through intention and, communication throughout the real estate process. And each time, for example, if they were pursuing a home to buy, they, would get in their head in different ways, or they're not going to accept my offer. There's all those concerns. And so I spend the majority of my time coaching them to understand that they have the power to not only set the intention, but guide how the unfoldment of their transaction could go. So I quickly saw that that was where I was spending my time, along with mentoring and leading the team that I built. And over the years, I connected with, women and women leaders, and always saw this even stronger in them, that they had all the success, especially as they got into the high 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure, and beyond production ranges. What
Mm-hmm.
was evident was that there was this success, there was, this happiness to a point, but they still had the guilt, the doubt, the different emotions that would be either a saboteur, or would drain them in some way energetically. And so that was the path to, see that this was something I really wanted to help women to not only, come home to their internal home, but see that the tools and power in your hands.
Yeah, I love that. What I hear you saying is mindset. And that it sounds like when either you're going through the buying process, looking at a home, or you're starting a business, or you're going through a next level in your business, or you're going through some other major transition in your life, we have these thoughts that come into our mind, and they can be very destructive. That negative self-talk can talk us out of that. You had mentioned a word talking about intentionality. So I want to look at those two words for just a moment: intentionality and mindset. And I'm curious, were you already really steeped in understanding your own mindset, and how your mindset and what you bring to a deal in real estate, or creating whatever it is that you want in your life, how that mindset could possibly impact the outcome of what you desire?
Yeah, so I actually grew up. So I started my real estate company when I was 19, just to give context, because when I say I grew up and was raised, I obviously went right into the real estate career. There wasn't, college or anything like that. So when I was raised, I was not raised in a space where mindset was talked about. It was not a positive environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I started my real estate career, I saw the suffering in me, and that I needed to resolve that if I wanted to become what I wanted to become,
Yeah.
right? And so I spent, in fact, it was right when The Secret was coming out. I watched that movie every day for 6 months, and it just helped me completely have a different perspective, because I didn't come from any of that. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what the law of attraction was. And while those methodologies are important, and obviously laws of the universe,
Mm-hmm.
it just helped me get that foundation and starting point so that I could really dive into mindset.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, if you mentioned the word suffering. Can we kind of dive into that a little bit more? Are you open to going there? What was it in your past that put you in that space where you felt like you were meeting a roadblock, you couldn't move forward, that you were connecting to some state of suffering that was holding you back.
Yeah, and this is, the work that is so much further beyond mindset, right? It's suffering is something that it plagues the human condition, and the piece for me, in the suffering was beyond my experience. It was came from my parents and their conditioning, because that's how we're all, conditioned. But that suffering really was rooted in not enough. So you can flip that on its head many different ways. Unworthy, fear of not belonging.
But for
There's so
you,
many masks
it
that
was
not enough.
not enough. It was like you,
Right, and I needed to prove. Yeah.
so not enough. Often, sometimes that underlying like unconscious behavior pattern, a lot of times we don't see it
Yeah.
until we do kind of say, wow, there's this thing that I keep doing. I'm overachieving. I'm doing all of this because I internally don't feel not enough. So I'm doing all these things externally, but I'm still feeling depleted on the inside. Is that something similar to
Yes.
kind of the path that you were on? What was that, I guess, that awakening, that moment, that light bulb moment, that aha moment? Was it an experience, a conversation, the movie that you mentioned? What was it that helped you see like something's not quite right here?
Yeah, it was definitely, that external success. And when I would get home, that feeling that I would have, which was not in alignment with my external world.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of women go through that, men too, but women specifically in this conversation, right? Of how I'm working with them. It's like they are successful, but then when they relax, all of the emotions come up. So it was that piece. And then there was a moment in my real estate career where I had hit all of the goals I had set one year, and I just wanted to cry. I was super successful externally, but internally felt still that there was that void from, my conditioning and past. So there
Mm.
was that moment.
So you did feel something like that felt out of alignment. And I guess at that point forward, and I really want to go in detail. And so I want to stay here because I think it's helpful for, my audience that's listening, because they may be on a similar path, or there's a piece of your story where when we hear that, we say, oh, well, I might not have difficulty with not feeling enough, but maybe it's something else. Maybe it's I don't belong, or there's something wrong with me, or however that may show up, or you're beginning to investigate how these patterns are showing up in your life. I think it's important to hear like those pieces of our journey. Um when you notice that, what was your next step in the process? Did you do something? Did you read a book, take a class? What was after that?
Yeah, so a couple of years prior to that, I was introduced to a wisdom school in India. So I had started my spiritual journey, which timely, of course, would of course evoke these, feelings and the awareness that I could have enough awareness to see the suffering that was going on. And so, a natural fixer, I, went to different seminars, but ended up going to India in 2016 was the first time that I took the trip over to India. And it was the first time that I had been away from work for, more than a week without my phone. I mean, it was 3 weeks of no phone, no connection. And it allowed me to really start that inner journey that is, part of my experience is like what I've condensed to be able to bring back
Mhm.
to the women.
Got it. So you
Yeah.
went there, and I guess went through a process. Did they do like meditation, mindfulness, yoga, all of that combined?
Yeah, yeah, it's a wisdom school. It's called O&O Academy,
Mhm.
and it was a mixture of all of it. And so a lot of reflection on, the programs and patterns that run us, because it's universal. Like you were saying earlier, for others it may not be that I feel enough, but it maybe I don't belong. So we have these different masks, right,
Yeah.
on the different sufferings, but it's very much about, the basic level, which is universal for all of us, which is suffering, and it just shows up
Yeah.
in different variations.
And so that experience definitely, once you came back here after that experience, it sounds like you felt like really compelled to um, start. I guess marrying is the thing that comes to mind, because when you talk about your work in real estate and you were meeting all these goals, and that was great in one regard, but there was a misalignment with what was going on internally. So when you came back with all this, these new discoveries, I guess, these new inner discoveries, how did you begin to connect those two from your inner space to your outer space in terms of how would I, maybe a better question is, what were you finding that you needed to be in alignment with what was happening in your external world? Or did it just, you magically, like you came back and you're like, oh, well, I have an inner shift. Does something shift with what you were doing in the external world at that time? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it does, yeah, and I'll answer it, and of course, if we can, have more, if I don't answer your question.
Yeah.
But the piece for me was, it was very clear on that trip in 2016, the work that I needed to do. It was a download that I received, and it was very clear that I was on a quest to awaken humanity. Now that's obviously a big, mission, and so the way that that can break down was clear. But for me, because journey, I did my real estate career based in that stuff, and that's really important. And I think just to highlight is, where are we coming from when we're starting things, whether it's a conversation, whether it's a new venture, just because I think that that's huge to have the awareness on. But it's because I was coming from a place of trying to fill it in me, proving overachiever. I wasn't conscious of it, of course, when I started the business, but because it wasn't based in a positive state, I could only go so far in the impact and that fulfillment, because I wasn't coming from that, like, beautiful internal space.
Mm.
So when I came back from that first trip, it was clear to me that I knew I was complete with real estate, but I felt stuck in it, because so at the time I also employed my husband. I have this big team. So there's all of these responsibilities that I had to work through and unwind to be able to be free of it and move on. And so that was, really the journey that I went on, and it was very challenging. It was honestly the most challenging few years of my life, because it wasn't about the real estate, it wasn't about the responsibilities, it was more about that obligation that I felt internally to take care of all of these people, which is another program women have, right?
Mhm.
But unwinding that was so much of the journey. So I then went to India 3 other times in the different programs that they offer, and of course did other, spiritual progression practices, right, on the evolution of my journey. But that was the most, like, instrumental piece, is that trip and coming back,
Yeah.
into where.
So I'm super curious, when you came back and you began to say, I am complete with real estate. That's been amazing in this journey. And you had to let go of this career that you've had and you transitioned into something else. What did that process look like? Because you went from one business to you're doing something called the Truth Teachers now, and I want you to talk about that. But what was the transition like from, having a successful real estate business? What did you have to do? How did you do that in a space of having a growth mindset, having what I call kind awareness, not just saying forget it all, but there's a right way to do that, where we don't just end things, but we do it with heart. We do it when we're in alignment with our mind, body, spirit. How did that process look for you? What did you do? How did you come back and mention to all these people on your team that, okay, some things are about to transition here?
Yes. So it was quite the journey, fascinating one, even today as I tell it. So when I came back from India, I knew I needed to make a change, but I had to go on a path of all of the things that happened after that point in 2016 to unwind all of the things to
Mm-hmm.
be ready for the work ahead. So so years passed, and I'm just going to fast forward to 2018. So it was real estate as usual, 2016, 2017, 2018. In the process, I'm having more awarenesses of what, more for me, what it really was is seeing all of these beliefs and shining a light on the truth so that I could be free of them. So that was a lot of the work. And then I moved forward and I actually bought a subdivision, which put me further into real estate in 2018, where I developed the subdivision, built 11 homes. And so it was just almost a way to, again, subconsciously self sabotage the journey that I knew I needed to take. It was like I was putting myself deeper into real estate.
Mm.
And that process, who I became through the struggles of that subdivision, understanding, why I did what I did, and really just stepping into this new level of awakening for myself,
Mm.
you know, and my needs, my voice, right? All of that, just becoming more, in tune with who I am. Um, it's like if I would have left real estate when I had the download to do so, the goal that would have been missed because of the struggles, would not be here today. That is a huge part of the curriculum I use with
Yeah.
clients.
So I love what you're saying here because we tend to shy away from struggle.
Mhm.
And yet we find all these golden nuggets of wisdom in the struggle, and easier said than done. As someone myself has gone through much struggle and teach my students about, building the resilience through the process. What was it your new spiritual connection that kept you grounded through the struggle? Like, I know that this is right. um I This is where I need to be. I know that, the information in my inner self, what's my inner self is telling me, what I'm being guided to do, letting go of real estate, going through this process and recognizing I'm supposed to let go of real estate, but here I just invested in this whole subdivision. What am I doing?
Right.
And then, like, working through that pattern, like, where, right, like the struggle, it's like the
Yes.
hero's journey. And
It's
yeah.
absolutely that. Yeah, it was very much a part of that. And honestly, it's almost like the subdivision was my opportunity to practice what I preach,
Mm.
because all of the, whether it was tactics, ideas, that the downloads, inspiration that I plan to share with my clients, I had to use everything. And I'm talking everything in the back of the toolbox to the front of the toolbox, everything, because when I started the subdivision, it was only supposed to take 9 months based on our timelines and our financial, projections. It ended up taking 22 months
Mm.
in a market that it's one of the hottest in the country, still is today. I mean, none of it made any sense. And so, the faith, the, seeing the suffering and being free of it, that was really the test of a lifetime for me.
Wow. Yeah, so fascinating. So I want those listening to understand, if you may not be in a situation like Stacy in real estate, but you are more than likely, perhaps in a situation, or either you're awakening to something, you're awakening to a pattern, you are curious about doing something different, something's guiding you, some inner voice is guiding you in a new direction. And there will be struggle, because if it were easy, everybody would be taking this journey, right? Like, if it were easy. So in some sense, it's like that excitement. And then it's like, okay, what's that struggle going to be? So you persevered through this 3-year time period, and you were bef- you began to unwind, but also kind of wound yourself a little tighter before you begin to unwind out of this. So now, are you completely free of that part of your career, and you are now only doing the truth teacher? And I would love for you to explain what that is and what you're doing now from this experience. Can I categorize it as a spiritual journey that you've had that has
Right.
helped propel you in this way? Okay, awesome.
Yes. Yeah. So last year I knew I was ready. It was time. So
I finished out one of the last projects that I had mid-year last year and started the Truth Teachers. And I still was involved with the team until first of 2021. And I announced to them, the plan. My husband was stepping into CEO. I am completely turning right into this new career. And um, you know, that's how we're moving forward. So to your point of, really moving forward in heart versus,
Mm-hmm.
just saying goodbye and, being
Yeah.
reckless with it, it felt very in alignment. So part of the work that I do, with the Truth Teachers is very much about shining light on the truth so you can see what the suffering is, because affirmations and mindset work, all of that will not take root if you are building upon polluted or poisonous toxic soil, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that suffering is that soil. And so a lot of times, the mirrors that we see in life, it's like, whether it's, some unresolved emotional blocks or something like that you still have with your parents, that's likely showing up in your business in some way. And it's about seeing that so that you can be free of it. So I work
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one with mostly 7 and 8 figure women leaders, a few high 6 figures, but that's the group that I work one on one with. And then the Truth Teachers is the opportunity to become certified, to learn these methodologies that
Mm-hmm.
I've, taken from all of these different journeys and put together for a very radical and rapid transformation in, basically 60 to 90 days,
Mm-hmm.
so that people can be free of their suffering, excuse me, and truly build a life that is on purpose and the way that they want it for that fulfillment, and ultimate success, whatever people
Yeah.
success.
So, can you share maybe some of the precepts that operate under your the Truth Teachers kind of framework guidelines?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can you clarify the question?
Yeah, so you have a program that you have people that women, or is it women and men? It's just women, correct? That
The
women go
truth.
through. Yeah.
Yeah, working with me, it's just women, but we are opening up the Truth Teacher certification and that initial program, that's a 6-week program, to men and women.
Yeah. So what are the principles of that program? The things, the values that guide something like that. So if someone were listening and they said, "Oh yeah, those 5 things that Stacey mentioned, like I really connect with that."
Yes. Yeah, so it's intention and manifestation,
Hmm.
and understanding the science behind different principles and the magic, like, that we all truly have access to, when we understand how to tap into our guidance and our connection to source,
Hmm.
and how to really harness that power on a practical level for achievement. So that's a big piece of it. It's very much metrics based, is how to harness that. The other one is awareness. And so that's awareness of, not only your inner state, but how that's showing up in the world as your mirror.
Hmm.
The next one is ownership. So, there's this level of responsibility that we think we take on our lives, but there's a deeper spiritual level, spiritual responsibility where you truly are the problem and the solution. And when you get to that place, you're unstoppable and you are y- truly in a state of calm and peace, which allows you to lead from a clear state. It allows you to impact from a clear state, when you're able to take a new level of ownership.
I love that. I I'm just so curious, through this whole process from transitioning from one career to another. What are some of the, I guess, advice or tips if someone's ready to start a business today, or they're ready to maybe not start a business, but they're on their own journey. They're going to try a new career. They're going to start a business. They're making a huge, big life decision. What inner work do they need to do before doing the outer steps? Would it be the things that you mentioned, like intention, manifestation, ownership, awareness? Or would you suggest something else, or something else combined with sort of the values of your the Truth Teachers program?
Yeah, the biggest thing is when you're considering a major life change, and at the core of that, it's likely something you truly want to do, right? A lot of us have gone down paths that we thought we really wanted to do, but maybe it was only like 75%. At the time, it felt like 100%, but it was truly only 75. Maybe we settled in a little in a small way.
Mm-hmm.
Is I would just first check yourself and ask, is this really what I want to do? No one else is around. It's just you, baby. Like, what is it that, you really want to do? And allow yourself to sit with that answer. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, to ask yourself, and I like to write lists out. Brain dumps is what I refer to, just because I get out of my head. Is
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend, make a list of all of the concerns or fears or charges that you're experiencing as you're considering the major life decision. And ask yourself, is there any unresolved emotions that might be linked to whether it's parents, upbringing, or even your family lineage as you know it? And that awareness alone will give you a sense of freedom so that you can be aware and navigate your next steps from a place of true inner power, because you're not doing it, you know, to fulfill a void in any way. And I just think that's a great distinction for people.
Yeah, I like the idea. I'm a list maker too. Love to kind of brain dump that out. Do you have any other like personal practices that you do to help keep you, what I like to say, tuned in, connected, grounded?
Yeah, definitely, my meditation practice. But one thing that I think people think about, I know I did for a long time, is meditation was like for my morning routine,
Mm-hmm.
but I integrate that throughout my entire day. And, so a 10-minute meditation before a very important meeting is so amazing, so that you're coming from the place that you want to come from. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say that that's something that could be, more integrated for people, is using it all day, using meditation
Yeah,
all day.
love it. I want to sort of transition into my rapid fire. So, rapid fire is where I ask these big life questions. So, just imagine having your favorite cup of cafe mojo. I have
Mhm.
my water today. I don't have tea, but that's okay. And whatever you may have, we'll just imagine that. And whatever word or phrase comes to your mind, just say what it is. No pressure, just all fun here.
Awesome.
Okay.
Great.
So, rapid fire question number one: what do you believe?
I believe that we are limitless.
Hmm. What are you grateful for?
My husky Scarlet.
What sustains you?
My connection to my higher self, so that source connection.
Mm. And you are on Mindful Living with Athea Davis. And I love to ask all my guests on the show, what does mindful living mean to you, Stacy?
Mindful living means to me to be able to take the step back throughout the day, no matter what time of day, and assess your results, assess the quality of your life, and be willing to take a look at your contribution to it and make adjustments as necessary, knowing that you truly create your own reality.
Thank you. Well, I want people to connect with you online. I want them to know how they can connect to the Truth Teachers program. So if you want to talk more about that, mention where they can find you online, social media, all the things. Please do that.
Yeah, thetruthteachers.com is the best place to go. That connects to all of our social and has our program information. And of course, you can reach out to us on thetruthteachers.com, and we can connect that way too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stacy. It's been amazing to have you on the show to listen to your journey. I know many that are listening will be inspired and empowered with your journey and how a piece of your story can ignite, a little spark, what I like to call awesome sauce in their own journey, as they may be looking at patterns and struggles in their own life, that they're not alone, that these are things that if we persevere through them, that we can find those golden nuggets of wisdom on the other side and really, really steep ourselves in the life that we truly wish to live.
Thank you so much. It's been such an honor to be on the show today. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Hey there, and welcome back to the flip side of my chat with Stacy Bahrenfuss here on episode 109 on Mindful Living with Thea Davis. You have been listening to Finding Your Internal Home. I know you gained a lot of valuable insight. As you know, I've talked a lot about throughout the episodes on the podcast how important it is to have some level of control over our inner world, over our thoughts and our emotions. And in my conversation with Stacy, I do hope you take away how having that, that clear state of mind, the connection to our mind, body, and heart can really help amplify all the things that you truly desire in your life, in your family, in your business, in your school, whatever it is. So if you did enjoy this episode and gained a lot of value from it, I have a small favor. Make sure to tell a friend, tell a family member, let them know that you really enjoyed this episode. Share the link with them so they can gain all the valuable insights, and that would mean the world to me. And if you have a little bit of extra time left, a couple of minutes, I would so appreciate you subscribing to the show and leaving a really quick rate and review on iTunes. It really means a lot. So, just think, I know I do this when I'm looking for a new book or a new product or a new podcast show. I read the reviews and I want to know what people are saying, the good, bad, and ugly. And that lets me know, hey, I think this podcast really resonates. So if the message resonates with you, please share, take a couple of minutes and do a little review. I really, really appreciate it. And if you really enjoyed this episode as well, and you are a social media, fan, you love to hang out there, screenshot this episode and share it on your stories. Tag me at Thea Davis and tag Stacy. I will share her social media handles and mine as well in the show notes. You can use the hashtag Mindful Living Podcast. That's with one L. And I hope you're doing well out there. If, you are on social media, don't forget to follow both of us. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the places. I would love to connect with you. And just sending you all the love, awesome sauce vibes your way. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to the Mindful Living Podcast with me, your host, Thea Davis. Think of me as your extra sparkly, good vibes, and no-nonsense guide, reminding you to take intentional action and choose to be the person today you want to become tomorrow. The world needs your sparkle, your joy, your gifts in action. Speaking of, I have a free gift for all my podcast listeners. Go now and subscribe to my email list and get your free health and wellness guide, Awesome Sauce Insights, at soulsenseyoga.com. And take a moment to rate and review my podcast on iTunes or wherever you may find yourself listening to Mindful Living with Thea Davis. I truly appreciate your time and feedback so I can continue to deliver valuable content to each of you. Until next time, have an awesome sauce day, friends.